Right now, someone is editing Wikipedia. A government is rewriting a textbook. An AI is generating fake history. But there's one book, older than universities, older than the printing press, older than America, that no one has ever changed. Not a syllable, not a pause, not even the curve of a single Arabic letter. And it's not just intact, it's impossible. Because this book describes embryonic development with 21st century precision, predicts cosmic expansion before telescopes existed, and dares humanity for 1400 years to replicate just 3 lines of its text. Yet no army, no empire, no supercomputer has altered it, and no skeptic has broken it. This is not a myth. This is not faith alone. This is the Quran, and it's the only error-free book in the modern world. Ready to see why? Let's be brutally honest. No ancient scripture has survived history without corruption. Take the Bible. Scholars admit there are over 400,000 textual variants in New Testament manuscripts, more variants than words in the entire text. Entire passages like the story of the adulterous woman were added centuries later. The Hindu Vedas, committed to memory for generations before being written, prone to drift, interpretation, and regional differences. Even classical works like Homer's Iliad exist in conflicting versions, with scholars debating which lines are original. But the Quran? From day one, it was engineered for perfect preservation. The moment revelation began in 610 CE, 2 systems ran in parallel. First, oral transmission. The Prophet Muhammad had companions who memorized verses as they were revealed, often repeating them back immediately. By the time of his death, hundreds had the entire Quran committed to memory. Second, written documentation. Scribes like Zayd ibn Thabit wrote down every verse on parchment, palm stalks, and even shoulder bones under the Prophet's direct supervision. Then came the ultimate test. After the Prophet's death, many memorizers died in battle. So Caliph Abu Bakr gathered every written fragment and cross-checked them against living Hufaz. Later, Caliph Uthman standardized one master copy and destroyed variants, not to erase truth, but to protect unity. That Uthmanic codex, it's identical to every Quran printed today. Even the Sana'a manuscript, carbon dated to before 671 CE, matches modern Qurans word for word, despite being hidden in a mosque attic for 1,300 years. This isn't faith talking. This is archaeology. This is history, and it's unmatched. But preserved doesn't mean accurate, skeptics say. Fair point. So let's talk about accuracy. The Quran mentions scientific facts that were impossible to know in 7th century Arabia, yet align perfectly with 21st century discovery. Embryology. Quran chapter 23 verse 12 to 14 details human development in stages, from a drop of fluid to a clinging clot to a lump of flesh, then bones, then flesh over bones. In the 1980s, Dr. Keith Moore, an atheist turned respectful embryologist, said this description matched modern science so precisely it could only be divine. He even revised his textbook to include Quranic terms. The expanding universe, Quran. Chapter 51, verse 47 says, "We are steadily expanding it." This wasn't confirmed until Hubble's 1929 discovery, 1,300 years later. Barrier between seas. Quran chapter 55, verse 19 to 20 describes a barrier where 2 seas meet. Oceanographers now know this as the halocline, a visible boundary where salt and fresh water, or different seas, meet but don't mix due to density differences. Satellites have photographed it. And here's one more. Mountains as pegs. Quran chapter 78, verse 6 to 7 asks, "Have we not made the earth a resting place, and the mountains as pegs?" Modern geology confirms mountains have deep roots, like tent pegs, stabilizing tectonic plates. This wasn't known until the theory of plate tectonics in the 1960s. How did a desert prophet know this? He didn't, but the one who created the universe did. Critics claim all religious texts contradict themselves. Let's test the Quran. Read it front to back. Does it say God is merciful in one chapter and cruel in another? No, it calls him Al-Rahman, Al-Rahim, the most gracious, most merciful, over 190 times consistently. Does it give two creation stories like Genesis? No, just one coherent narrative. Does it flip-flop on ethics? Nope. Justice, compassion, and truth remain constant. Even linguistically, it's flawless. The Quran challenged its critics. Produce one chapter like it. For 1,400 years, no one has. Not poets, not AI, not scholars. And then there's the mathematical structure. The opening chapter, Al-Fatiha, has 139 letters. The total number of verses in the Quran? 6,236, divisible by 19. The word God, Allah, appears 2,698 times, also divisible by 19. Even the total count of certain letters in specific chapters follows this pattern. Dr. Rashad Khalifa's work was controversial, but the pattern itself, verified by independent researchers? The odds of this happening by chance? Effectively zero. As the Quran itself says in chapter 4, verse 82, do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it were from anyone other than God, they would have found in it many contradictions. 1,400 years later, silence from its critics. Here's something no other book on earth can claim. Over 10 million people alive today have memorized the entire Quran, word for word, in its original Arabic. These aren't scholars in ivory towers. They're kids in refugee camps, students in Jakarta, teenagers in Toronto, and they're tested constantly. In international competitions, one mistake, like mispronouncing a vowel, disqualifies you. This oral chain stretches back unbroken to the Prophet himself. Every Hafiz is part of a living chain of transmission, isnad, that modern tech can't replicate. Even during colonialism, when printing was banned, the Quran survived in hearts, not just books. Imagine trying to orally preserve Shakespeare's complete works across continents for 14 centuries, with zero errors. Impossible. But with the Quran, it's happening right now. That's not culture, that's custody, divine custody. The Quran isn't just poetic, it's prophetic. In chapter 30, verse 2-4, it says the recently defeated Byzantines would victory over Persia within 3 to 9 years. At the time, Persia had sacked Jerusalem, and everyone thought Rome was finished. Yet in 627 CE, exactly 7 years later, Byzantium crushed Persia at Nineveh. The prophecy fulfilled to the year. It also predicted Islam's global spread. He it is who has sent his messenger with guidance to make it prevail over all religion. At the time, Muslims were a persecuted minority in Mecca. No army, no wealth, no state. Yet within a century, Islam reached Spain, India, and China, not by forced conversion, but by the power of its message. And today, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, not because of marketing, but because its source is untainted. In an age of deep fakes, revisionist history, and AI-generated lies, the Quran remains a fixed point, unchanged, unchallenged, and uncorrupted. It doesn't apologize for the past. It doesn't adapt to trends. It simply is, as true today as it was in 610 CE. And for over 1 billion people, that's not blind faith. It's daily reality. So next time someone says, all holy books are the same, ask them, which one has been memorized by millions, verified by science, predicted the future, and never altered in 14 centuries? There's only one answer. The Quran, not just preserved, protected. Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian. Like this? Share it. Question it, study it, but don't ignore it.